Development is the first phase of the planning process for your session. You are leading a large group discussion. It is helpful to start with your goals for the session. What do you want your students to take away from the session? These goals will be outlined in the session learning objectives. The purpose of a large group discussion is to allow for the exchange of opinions, observations, or ideas, usually to analyze, clarify, or reach conclusions about an issue, questions, or problems. Consider the foundational knowledge required of the students in order to participate fully in your session. What material could help fill learning gaps and solidify foundational knowledge? Identify materials that could be used to help prepare students for the large group discussion. This could be textbook readings, a video, or a digital activity. This material will be listed as required material for the students. Required material implies important information that is critical to the student's ability to understand and participate fully in the session. Familiarize yourself with the learning objectives for your session prior to outlining your content. These are the key takeaways that express to what degree the students will be able to demonstrate and apply their understanding. This will help you to stay on track when planning your session content. Utilize the learning objectives to outline your lesson plan. Keep in mind the length of time allowed for your session. The length of time will determine how much and to what depth of the content you can cover. It is better to be able to cover less material more thoroughly. Use the learning objectives to shape the content of your presentation. Keep in mind the student's present knowledge and consistently make connections from the new information back to existing knowledge. Large group discussions can still have a lecture component to them, but they should also incorporate opportunities for discussion. They should not be purely lecture. You will want to plan your discussion points, prompts, and follow-up discussions and questions in advance. See the linked resources section if you would like more specific examples of interactive activities for a large group setting. Plan for short periods of time at regular intervals throughout your session to invite student interaction, discussion, and check for understanding. Also plan time at the beginning for orienting students to the plan for the session, and allow time at the end for a summary or guided reflection of the session. This is referred to as the Bookend Approach. This picture illustrates an example of how a session can be formatted with this approach. A lesson planning guide is also linked to support your planning process. Although you may not follow it in its entirety, it can be helpful for planning the flow of your lesson. Plan to leave time for a summary at the end of your session. Refer back to the learning objectives and briefly address each one. This can be a good time for an informal assessment. For example, asking open-ended questions directly related to learning objectives and listening for student responses. Consider what supplementary materials you can offer the students to follow your session. These are not required materials, but rather aids for further understanding. These can be textbook readings, a video, a digital activity, or something else. The next step in the planning process is design. See the next video to learn more about setting up presentation materials and designing your session page on Canvas.